Alrighty, so today we are going to continue the top 10 players all time at every position for the next couple of videos. Onto the topic for today's video, we are going to be looking at the top 10 shooting guards of all time. This list was harder at the bottom half of the list than the point guards because it is not all clear cut like that list was. Please keep in mind that these are going to be based on the players' skills, accolades, and overall career accomplishments, not based on pure skill. Like if it was based on pure skill, Allen Iverson would probably be one or two, but it's not like that. He is on here, just not one or two. You guys know who 1 and 2 are. But now that we got like the basics out of the way, let's move on to our number 10 spot, who is Tracy McGrady. And Tracy McGrady was an offensive juggernaut. He started out his career good, but not really. He only averaged 10.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 2.5 assists for his years in Toronto as a whole. But during that time, he was playing next to his cousin, Vince Carter, who just announced his retirement while playing for the Hawks this year. His career really took off when he left the Raptors and went to the Magic. That year he won Most Improved Player as he improved his averages by 12 points, a rebound, and an assist. He was a scoring champion in 2002 and 2003. He averaged 32 points and 28 points respectively. Those seasons he also averaged 7 rebounds and 5.5 steals with a steal and 5.5 assists and a steal and a block. Sorry guys. Two problems with McGrady's career are his lack of playoff success and his injuries. For his career, he never made it out of the first round, kind of like, I can't even think of any, like, I say in like the early 2000s, Tracy McGrady was probably a superstar, but the cause was that for his career, he never made it out of the first round, and injuries. He was always injured, and he choked crucial games trying to get out of the first round of the playoffs. When he left Orlando, he went to Houston. Those teams were always derailed because of injuries to both Yao Ming and himself. To conclude, when McGrady was healthy, he was one of the greatest of all-time scorers and best players in the NBA. His career average is 20 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 4 assists with a steal and a block. He was a 7-time All-Star, and he never won anything significant, unless you want to count, I don't know what year it was, I think like 2014 or something like that. He was on the Spurs team that won the championship, but he never got any playing time. That's why he's ranking so low, but he did score 8 points in only 13 seconds to win a game, so we'll leave Tracy McGrady on that note. But moving on to the number 9 spot, we have yet another offensive weapon in the Iceman, aka George Gervin. For his career, he averaged 25 points, 5.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, a steal and a block. He was a 12-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA player. He won the Rookie of the Year in 1973, and he was a 4-time scoring champion. For his All-Rookie selection, he averaged 14 points, 4 rebounds, and an assist. Pretty good rookie numbers. At the time, blocks and steals were not recorded. That was before the NBA-ABA merger, I believe, or it was just a couple of years close to. The year he won a scoring championship, he put up averages of 27 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block. He was a scoring season that season as well, obviously, but also the next one. And for the next scoring champion season he averaged 35, 2, and a half with 2 steals and a block. He went back-to-back, and on the tail end of his three-peat scoring-wise, so he went back-to-back as a scoring leader, he averaged 33, 5, and 2.5 with an assist, a steal, and a block. He took 1 year to get beat by Adrian Dantley, but the following year he was back at it for the last time in 1982, and this year he averaged 32.3, 5 rebounds, 2.5 steals. So, to sum up George Gervin, he was a great scorer, a good defender because he was like 6'7", lengthy, small forward guy, or shooting guard. Shooting guard obviously is the shooting guard list. So it was like a 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", long shooting guard, but he never got it done in the playoffs, just like Um, number 10 and Tracy McGrady. But moving on to number 8, we have Pistol PeteMaravich. Um, he was pretty much a prophet as well. But before we get into his stats and accolades, let's talk about the crazy Pistol Pete story, obviously. 13 years before his death, he said in an interview that, "I don't want to play 10 seasons in the NBA and die of a heart attack at the age of 40. Little did he know that after 10 years in the NBA, he retired, and at the age of 40, he passed away of a heart attack." That's why I called him a prophet. Um, Now that that sad and interesting story is out of the way, rest in peace, Pete. Let's talk about his NBA career. For his career, he averaged 24, 4, 5.5 assists, and a steal and a block and a half. He made the All-Rookie team in 1971, and in that season, he averaged 23, 4, and 4.5. Again, blocks and steals were not counted. 6 years later, he led the league in scoring in 1977. That season, he averaged 32, 5, 5.5 with 1.5 steals. He made the playoffs 4 times in his career. In all of his playoff games, he averaged 19, 4, and 4. All in all, he was a great scorer, had a great all-around game. Nice player. Obviously, if you're a top 10 in any position, you got to be a great player. But moving on to number 7, we're going to one of the many players outshined by Michael Jordan in the 90s, and that's Clyde Drexler. Clyde the Glide comes in at number 7. For his career, he averaged 20 points, 6 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 2 steals, and a block. He never led his team to any championship. He never led a team to a championship on his own, but then he teamed up with Hakeem Olajuwon and won one when Jordan was playing baseball. He was a very consistent player, so when the playoffs came around in 1995, his stats didn't change at all, except he averaged like one more rebound than his career average. So he was a key, if you wanted a player that was consistent, for his entire career, playoffs, no playoffs, Clyde was your guy. He didn't have the most exciting career, and there's not much to talk about because he was basically the off-brand Michael Jordan. But to conclude, he was a great player, but nowhere near the GOAT. So he's always overlooked because Jordan played he was drafted 2 years after Clyde, so Clyde never had his own time to shine without Jordan just taking all of his shine. But at number 6, we have James Harden. We have the beard. He's an outstanding scorer and passer, dominating the league for the past few years. Harden was always good at scoring the ball, but he just got better each year. He won the Rookie of the Year in 2009 and was a spark plug off the bench for OKC, winning Sixth Man of the Year in 2011. The following year, he made it to the NBA Finals to lose in 6 to the LeBron-led Miami Heat with Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. We all know those guys. The following season, he was traded to the Rockets and became a full-time starter, an even deadlier scoring machine. He kept improving over and over the next couple of years and won his first scoring title along with his MVP in 2018. He hasn't won a second MVP yet. We can get into that debate later on, but Westbrook's season was too good, man. Anyways, he was a scoring leader the next 2 seasons leading up to the season that just ended. Since he left OKC, the farthest he's made it is the Western Conference Finals. He might have made it to the finals if CP3 didn't injure his hamstring. All in all, he's the best scorer in the NBA and one of the best scorers of all time, who, if he can get a championship, I'd put him at number 4. I'd bump him up 2 spots ahead of number 5, Allen Iverson, but that's only if Harden was a championship. But yeah, at 5 we have the greatest ball handler of all time, the third degree, the answer, Allen Iverson. AI was the first player to ever cross Michael Jordan. He also did so while he was a rookie. Not only was Iverson an amazing ball handler, he was gifted all around the court. He averaged 26 points, 3.5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals throughout his career. Iverson won the Rookie of the Year in 1997. Convincingly by averaging almost 24 points, 4 rebounds, and 7.5 assists. There isn't a better way for a rookie to come into the league and assert his dominance the way Allen Iverson did. First led the league in scoring in 1999 when he dropped 27 points that season. Allen was able to lead the league in steals for 3 consecutive years. From 2001 to 2003, he got a total of 671 steals within those 3 years. His best year is in 2002 when he averaged 3 steals a game. The first 2 of those years, Iverson also led the league in scoring for the second and third time, dropping 31 in 2001, 31 and a half in 2002, and then Iverson won the scoring league. Oh, sorry, I already read that. Iverson won his first and only MVP in 2001, averaging 31, 4 and 4 and a half. Of course, that same year he led the league in scoring and steals. That's the year him and Hakeem made it to the finals. He had that amazing crossover, step over Tyronn Lue, and I feel like, well, not Hakeem, Dikembe Mutombo. I feel like Dikembe Mutombo was kind of underrated in that series, but again, another topic, another video. And let's not forget about the fact that Iverson basically carried the 76ers with the help of Dikembe Mutombo. But he had to go up against Kobe and Shaq, and no one was beating that 1-2 punch. Nonetheless, throughout the 2001 playoffs, Iverson dropped 33 points, 4.5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2.5 steals, and half a block. Iverson never had much help other than Melo and JR in Denver, but that didn't matter because at the end of the day, Iverson was just a beast. One of mine and Sean's favorite players all time. Number 4, we got Jerry West. He's been the NBA logo for over 50 years. To be exact, he was named the logo in 1969, nice, by Alan Siegel, who was a basketball star in high school. Even though West was only able to win one championship, he was a dangerous offensive player, being able to drop a bunch of points and assists at a time, averaging 27, almost 7 assists, or he averaged 27 points and almost 7 assists throughout his career, but it didn't stop there. West never won a Defensive Player of the Year, but he did make the list 5 times. Wow, I didn't even know that. Sean wrote this script information down for me. West won his first Finals MVP in 1969, dropping 31 points, 3 rebounds, and 8 assists throughout the playoffs. West and the Lakers faced the Celtics that year. Of course, the Lakers would end up losing. This was a historical year for West because he became the first and only player to ever win Finals MVP while being on the losing team. Meaning, even though he lost, he was still the best player on the court throughout the whole series. That's impressive still to this day. In 1970, West was able to lead the league in scoring. During this season, he dropped 31. 2 years later, he led the league in assists at 9.7. He won his first ring that same year, and he beat the Knicks 4-1 in a gentleman's sweep. In this series, the Knicks beat the Lakers by 22 in the first game, looking like the better team, but that was proved to be false, as the Lakers went on to win the next 4 games in the series to eliminate the New York Knicks in dominating fashion. During the playoffs this year, West averaged 22.9 points, pretty much 23, 4.5 rebounds, and 9 assists, almost averaging a double-double. Personally, I feel like if West were to have won a few more rings, then he would have been placed number 3. But that didn't happen, so he sits at number 4. But making the list at number 3, we have the Flash, or Dwayne Wade. Dwayne was one of the best defending guards of all time, averaging 1.5 steals and almost a block for his entire career. He was also superb on the other end of the floor, averaging 22 points, 5.5 assists, 4.7 rebounds throughout his career. Wade is a 13-time All-Star and made the NBA first team twice. In 2009, he led the league in scoring. That season, he averaged 30 points, 5 rebounds, 7.5 assists with 2 steals and a little over a block a game. And the next season was once again an NBA first-team player, averaging 26, 5, and 6.5 with 2 steals and a block. He won 3 championships throughout his career, 1 with Shaq in 06 and 2 with LeBron in 2012 and 13. His first ring with Shaq, he won the Finals MVP, and for that playoff run, he averaged 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 5.5 assists, with a little over 2 steals and a block. Wade and LeBron beat the Young Thunder team trio of Durant, Westbrook, and Harden for a second championship. That run, he averaged 23, 5, 4, with a steal and a half and a block. The following year, him and LeBron defeated the Spurs, where he averaged 16, 4.5, and 5 assists, with a steal and a half and a block. In the last run, he wasn't the scorer that he once was due to knee issues, but he was still very useful at the defensive end. All in all, the later years were rough on D-Wade, but he was still a quality scorer and one of the best defensive guards of all time. Number 2, we got the Mamba. Rip to the second greatest shooting guard to ever play the game, Kobe Bean Bryant. Aside from shooting guards, Kobe is one of the greatest basketball players ever. He proved that winning 3 straight rings from 2001 to 2003 with the most dominant player in the modern NBA history, the Diesel, Shaq Daddy. Even though Shaq and Kobe didn't always get along, they produced some of the greatest basketball ever. Kobe won his first MVP and only MVP in 2008, dropping 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists with 2 steals and half a block. Personally, I believe Kobe was robbed in 06 and 07, where Nash won the award. Now Kobe dropped 35, 5, and 4 in 06, 31, 5, and 5 in 07, but Nash did have a better record both years, where the Lakers only won 45 games and the Suns won 54. In 06, the Lakers won 42 games. In 07, the Suns won 61. So the Suns always just had a way better record, and Nash was like the leading assist maker for like Sean Marion and Amari Stoudemire. But we'll save that discussion for another video. Kobe proved his offensive dominance by leading the league in scoring in both 06 and 07, where he dropped 35, then 31. Kobe was a hard man to stop once he caught fire, and he was nearly impossible to guard. He won his last 2 rings in 2009 and 2010, dropping 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists in the 09 playoffs. Then he dropped 29, 6, and 5 in the 2010 playoffs. He also won the Finals MVP both of those years, slaughtering Dwight and the Magic, then defeating the four-headed monster of Rondo, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett. An underrated part of his career throughout the entire thing was he made 12 all-defense teams, and when Kobe pulled up his shorts, no one was getting past him. You know this clip. It's tragic what happened to Kobe and Gigi, and everyone was affected severely from the event. I still hurt, but his greatness will never be forgotten, and his spirits will live on forever. And now, my 5th favorite player of all time, it was no question who it was going to be. Number 1 is Michael Jordan. To start off his career, he averaged 28, 6.5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2.5 steals, and a block. So just into the league, he was already an offensive and defensive beast. And I actually just today saw a graphic comparing Jordan's rookie years to Kobe's MVP years, and Jordan's rookie years were just as good, if not even a little bit better than Kobe's MVP year. That's no nick on Kobe at all. He had a great season, but that's just showing how dominant Jordan was. Throughout the rest of his career, he averaged 30 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2.5 steals, and a block. I believe he's one of only 2 people to average 30 throughout their career. I believe it's just him and Wilt Chamberlain. That's pretty good company to be in, considering Chamberlain scored 100 in a game. He won 10 scoring titles in 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 96, 97, 98. Whew. He is a 5-time MVP. He won in 88, 91, 92, 96, or 88, 91, 92, 96, 98. In 1988, he won his first MVP. That season, he averaged 35, 5.5, 6, 2.7, and a block. This is also the year he became the only guard, except for Gary Payton, to win a DPOY, or Defensive Player of the Year award. His next MVP came in 1991. He averaged 31.5, 6, 5.5, 2.7 steals, and a block. Continuing on through his MVPs, 92, he averaged 30, 6.5, 6, 2.3, and a block. 4 years later, in 96, he won his next MVP, averaging 36 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and half a block. His last MVP came in 98. He averaged 28, 6, 3.5, and a steal. Now moving on to what really matters, championships. Jordan three-peated twice, once in 91, 92, 93, next 96, 97, 98. He won all 6 MVPs, and every time he made it, he won. When he won his first chip in 91, he averaged 31, 6, 6, 2, and half a block. Next year, he averaged 34.5, 6.7, and 6 assists with 2 steals and a block. And the final chip of this three-peat, he averaged 35, 6.5, 4.5, and 2 steals and a block. And then after all that greatness, he took a break, went on to play minor league baseball for a year and a half for his recently deceased dad. But the greatness got right back on track in 1996 when he averaged his typical 35, 4, 2 steals, and half a block. And then in 97, he had 31, 8 rebounds, 5 steals, steal and a half, and a block. During his final championship run, he averaged 32, 5, 3.5, and a steal and a half. After this chip, he retired for a few years, came back to to the Wizards, averaged 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists for the last 2 seasons of his career. We all know, 6-0, never went to Game 6. Beat Magic, Karl Malone, we don't mess with him around here. Stockton, Clyde, Charles Barkley, kept so many players in the 90s from winning championships, but that's just how good he was. If you guys have any suggestions, let us know. And I think that's it. Deuces.